You know that moment in a training when the narrator says, "By the end of this module, you'll know the required compliance procedures and how to follow them," and your brain just quietly leaves the room? You're still sitting there watching, but mentally, you're gone. And the funny thing is, it's usually not because the topic is impossible or because the learner doesn't care. Most of the time, the content isn't the problem. The delivery is. So the learner starts thinking, okay, why am I listening to this? And once that thought shows up, they're not focused on the lesson anymore. They're watching the progress bar, wondering how long this is going to take. In this video, I'll show you the two biggest script mistakes that make learners tune out and the quick fixes to keep them with you. But first, imagine your GPS worked like bad e-learning narration. You're driving somewhere unfamiliar, and instead of giving you useful directions, it starts reading everything you can already see. Stop sign, tree, gas station, building. At first, you might laugh because it would be so strange. But after about 20 seconds, you'd probably shut it off. None of that helped you drive. A helpful GPS tells you what matters next. In 500 feet, turn right. Stay in the left lane. Take the next exit. And that is the job of good e-learning narration. It should help the learner know what matters, what to notice, what to do next, and why the information is worth caring about. But a lot of courses accidentally do the GPS version of tree, building, stop sign. The screen already shows the learner the information, and then the voice just reads it back. Or the script is written in such a formal, detached way that it stops feeling like a guide and starts feeling like a document with a play button. So let's fix those two problems. Reason one, the script doesn't sound human. This happens a lot in technical or compliance training because the content usually starts in a document. And that document may be accurate, it may be approved, but that doesn't mean it should be read out loud exactly as written. You know the kind of line I mean. Upon completion of this module, participants will demonstrate comprehension of required procedural compliance standards. But imagine a real teacher walking into a classroom and saying that out loud. It would feel weird. Like the students would wonder if the teacher had been replaced by a printer. A more human version might be, by the end of this lesson, you'll know what to do, what to avoid, and how to stay compliant in the situations you're most likely to face. Now it feels like someone is helping. And that matters because conversational narration isn't just a style preference. Research on multimedia learning shows people learn better when it sounds like a person talking to them. When you're helping someone learn, you don't just dump information on them. You point out what matters. You explain why they should care. You say things like, "Here's what this means," or "Watch out for this." That's what formal writing often forgets to do. So the fast fix is simple. Read the script out loud before it ever gets recorded. Seriously, out loud. Ask 3 questions. Would a real person say this? Does this sound like guidance or documentation? And does the learner have a reason to care right now? If the answer is no, you don't need to make the script silly or overly casual. You just need to make the language sound like it belongs in a teaching moment. Because if it sounds strange coming out of your mouth, it'll probably sound strange going into the learner's ears. This connects directly to our second problem. Even if the words are better, learners can still check out if the voice sounds like it doesn't care. Now, I don't mean the narrator needs to sound wildly excited about every single line. Nobody needs a voiceover that sounds like someone just won a game show every time they say, "Click next to continue." What learners need is presence. A reading voice says, "Here is the sentence. Here is the next sentence. Here is the sentence after that." A guiding voice says, "This part matters. Stay with me here. Here is what you need to notice." So if you're directing a narrator, don't just say, "Please read this clearly." Clear is good, but clear by itself is not enough. Clear can still be cold and detached. Try giving direction with intention. Imagine the learner is a little overwhelmed here, and your job is to walk them through this one step at a time. Or, this is the moment where the learner needs to understand why this policy matters, so slow down slightly and make it feel like you're pointing something out. That is especially important when the content is dry, dense, or required, because the learner may already be coming in with resistance. They may be thinking, please let this not be 45 minutes of bullet points. The learner should feel like the narrator is saying, I'm here to help you understand this, not, I was hired to get through this file before lunch. But even when the script is conversational and the voice is warm, one mistake can still wreck the whole experience really fast. The narrator just reads the slide, and you can almost feel the learner's brain go, wait, I can read. That moment is dangerous because once the learner realizes the audio is not adding anything, the voice stops feeling useful. Let the screen organize the idea. Let the voice explain the idea. So if you're teaching people how to handle a suspicious email, the bad version is this. The screen says, always report suspicious emails to IT before clicking any links or downloading attachments. And then the narrator says the exact same thing. The better version would let the slide carry the structure. The screen might say, suspicious email, don't click, don't download, report to IT. And then the narrator can teach, if an email feels suspicious, pause before you interact with it. Don't click links, don't download attachments, and send it to IT so they can verify it safely. Now the slide gives the learner structure and the voice gives meaning. That's the synergy you want. And the quick test is this. If the learner can mute the audio and get the exact same lesson from the slide, the narration probably isn't doing enough. The goal is to make the visuals and audio share the teaching job. Now, there are two quick ways to make that happen faster. First, give the information a real situation to live in. Instead of starting with, workplace data security is an essential component of organizational compliance, start with, you get an email that looks like it came from your manager. It says the file needs to be opened before the end of the day. What do you do before you click? So the rule is situation before explanation. Before you define the policy, show the moment where the policy matters. Before you list the steps, show the problem those steps solve. Before you introduce the rule, give the learner a reason to want the rule. Second, give the learner a small decision to make. So after the suspicious email example, don't just say, remember to report suspicious emails. Ask a quick, what should you do first question, so they have to think. So if you want a fast way to check whether an e-learning lesson is likely to lose people, use what I'd call the guide test. Ask 3 questions. Does the script sound like a real person helping the learner? Does the voice add guidance, emphasis, or meaning? And do the screen and narration work together instead of duplicating each other? If the answer to any of those is no, that may be exactly where learners start checking out. Because learners don't just need information. They need a voice that helps them through the lesson, visuals that support what they're hearing, and small moments that make them think, okay, I see why this matters. But attention isn't just about your script, your slides, or how clearly you explain the content. Sometimes learners tune out because the course is simply asking too much from their brains for too long. So in the next video, I'll show you why online learners burn out and the simple design choices that help them stay energized. Click here to watch that next.